right? Like you fire a drone up into the air, and you're like, okay, everybody, you know this path? Like you're fucking carving down trees with your machete. I know you don't care about this railroad we're building, but I want to show it to you. Like the decision around how much you can do and what you want to do and where you meet in the middle of that is 100% you. So you can't set a goal that says I'm going to go from 70 to 80% unless you can say clearly I know how to get from 70 to 80%. If you don't know how to get from 70 to 80%, then all you can actually set as a goal is I'm going to improve my metric by some percentage by executing these 5 changes.
So what am I actually putting in the process side of things that if I achieve X, I have won?
I would put in my 90-day plan, improve technician utilization rate significantly by making these 5 specific changes, and I would consider the goal complete when all 5 are checked. And then next quarter, you might have the same goal, improve technician utilization rate by doing these 5 things.
So the resultant metric is the technician utilization rate, but the process...
Did it change or did it not change?
Right.
But the actual goal is, I've identified and we're taking action on these specific 5 things, and we don't know what the direct impact is going to be. But we know it's going to thrust in that direction. And don't do all 5 at once. Prioritize them, sequence them, and do them in order. If you try to work on all 5 at once, then you won't get the benefit of any of them until the end of the quarter.
Not only that, but I want to encourage, when you finish your thought, to back up a step further. But what about creating company culture that creates solving problems so that at some point in time the company solves the problem and doesn't need you to solve it?
And the next time a problem similar shows up, your employees can take that off the shelf, deploy it, and solve the problem without you.
Or they can practice that and then you can oversee it.
So on tactical level, is there even a simple example you can give me?
Yeah, deploy your entire business strategy culture to them. Show them the strategy. Show them behind the curtain. Walk them through the 90-day plan. Help them understand how you approached it. Help them understand why you're doing what you're doing. Help them see how their metrics align with your specific goals and outcomes. Get them to take on accountabilities and deadlines. There's like lists and lists and lists of micro actions that are cultural in nature.
Essentially, you want them thinking like you at the end of the day.
And the way to get them to think like you is to get them to see what you see.
At the same time too, is there not a disconnect between the employee and the employer that I've got a vested interest in that buy-in, and people who are on the mission will buy in if they're a part of that bigger vision, but some people are like, you know, I'm in, but I'm not into your level, so I don't really care about this shit that you're getting all super motivated.
Well, they don't have to care, but you have to show them the path all the way through.
Okay.
It's the difference between looking at a forest and seeing a path.
Right.
Like, they don't have to be, they can look at that path and be like, oh, okay, I honor you for walking that path. And that doesn't mean they have to be like, yeah, I want to help you define the goals for the quarter. It just means they've seen the railroad you're building.
But the one thing I haven't communicated to them was, like you said, showing them the bigger picture, because it's one thing to say, here's what I want you to do. It's another thing to say, here's why I want you to do it. And when they go, oh, I see now, opposed to just, he's just telling me to do this, I guess so. They're involved and they're invested, and they go, oh, this is why, because we want to be this techno, multifaceted, blah, blah. I want to be a part of that. And then they're more motivated intrinsically to bring that to the company.
It's a difference between preaching and leading. A preacher is speaking to their conscious mind, trying to convince the conscious mind of what's real. And then they may or may not put that conscious mind to work trying to convince their operating mind. Probably they're not going to. So the fastest path to creating transformation in your team is to simply show them data that will allow them to computate according to their own perception what is true. Because if you show them, okay, 5 years we've got these numbers, 3 years we've got these numbers, 1 year we've got these numbers, and these are the goals we're following, these are the trajectories, these are the specific outcomes, this is what I've broken down, and here's our 90-day plan, and this is why it's relevant. Now they're like, oh, okay, like I've seen out there, it computates, they're gonna use words like, yep, makes sense. If you can get that, yep, makes sense reaction, you've won. Linking praise and reprimand to values. I don't know how clear you are on your company values, like we're super certain and clear in ours. and our values are a direct reflection of our behavior in our company. We haven't created values that are somehow tangential. Like, our values really do reflect my and Belly's behaviors as leadership.
Right.
And so I say every quarter and at every other opportunity, whenever you're making decisions in this business, the objective in showing you these values is to empower you in your decision making. If at any time you make a decision and we need to dig into that decision for any reason to look at either praise or reprimand, it's our accountability to tie that praise or reprimand to our values. As long as you can show me how your decision aligns with the company values, we will stand behind your decision 100%.
But a lot of times the reprimand or whatever is not because they decided poorly against it. It could just been a flaw or failure of, like, oh, I missed this because. It's not, well, you didn't intentionally fuck up because you made a bad decision.
We don't reprimand for bad decisions or missingness. I don't reprimand for any of the conventional reprimands because, like, people forget shit. They have selective biased attention. They have their own values. I can reprimand around poor decision making.
Right.
I can't reprimand around somebody missing something. They didn't decide to miss it. They missed it.
Yeah.
So that's why praise and reprimand in our culture shows up only when they're making a decision consistently.
Got it.
If someone made a mistake, it's because they didn't have information or they didn't have leadership, they didn't feel like they could ask for help, or they were rushing. All of those are systemic byproducts. I can't fix a person. If they're rushing, there's a culture of rushing. If they're making mistakes, there's a culture of mistakes. If they're not having information, it's because their leadership and their management didn't provide it to them. Right? If they're not asking for help, we have to really check in. Is management accessible and available for them to receive that help? Do they actually feel computationally that if they ask for help, they're going to get it? There's a ton of stuff that employees get reprimanded for that I totally don't agree with.
But anyway.
Culture? It's this totally abstract concept, but like, I've been doing IT for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I'm at this point in my life where it's like, none of this shit matters, guys. People are like, can we automate this? I'm like, fucking why? You can't even talk to your employees without, like, you don't even know what to say to these people to get them to do what you want. What the fuck? You're gonna equip them to do more of what you don't want?
Yeah.
Like that Bill Gates quote, technology will make inefficient processes more inefficient and will take efficient processes and make them more efficient. So the question is not what can the technology do, but how are you applying it?
Yeah.
Fuck. People, what are you applying your people to? What do you have them working on exactly? Like, are they going in the same direction? Like, do you even know?
When you truly hold people accountable, it actually empowers them and their morale goes up. Right?
Yeah, it does, because they're like, oh, great, I'm being led.
Because they
loving with what
they,
you say.
they now trust you because they know that you have their back.
Yeah.
Because you're paying attention. Because you're recognizing. Accountability is another form of recognition.
I like that. I like the piece about the reprimand. Is it's. I view reprimand as when there's a failure, I reprimand. Not was this a decision or was this just human nature or whatever. When they know they're getting a reprimand, they're like, this I'm fucking up because this is a conscious decision, not because he's just riding my ass about some bullshit. So yeah, no, I agree with that. I like that. That actually transcends a lot of places in life, even with family. So, okay, I'm complete. I got my takeaways. Thank you, man.
There's not much going to be happening for the next 10 or 15 minutes, Warren, so if you want to check in, go for it, buddy.
I just choked a little bit. No one's asked for my feedback before.